Today I'm gonna talk about these two lenses. They are both 45mm lenses and they are both great for portraits. Stick around to see what I have to say about these two M.Zuiko lenses. Well, before we start, I want to thank every one of you behind the screen over there. It was exactly a year ago when I decided to start to make 2 videos a week, and it's been a good decision. There's been lots and lots of growth in my channel, and I guess you guys have been quite happy also because commenting has been quite lively and mainly positive. And I want to thank you so much for watching my videos. But let's start to talk about these two lenses. And we'll start with the specs this time. As you can see, the size difference is quite noticeable. This one is a lot bigger. Okay, they both have the lens hoods on. I don't know if this lens hood might not be for this lens. I think it's for the 12mm, but it fits really nicely. And it's one of these square lens hood. The lens hood should be square because that's the format of the image inside. So the round one isn't as good as the square one. But where does the size difference come from? Of course, this one is f1.2, this one is f1.8. That's one reason. The front element of the lens is a lot bigger. As you can see, this is a lot bigger, this one, compared to this one. And then the second thing, of course, is that the Pro lenses are weather sealed, freeze-proof and splash-proof and dust-proof. But the M.Zuiko lenses, the M.Zuiko premium lens, that's actually, they don't call them premium anymore. They just call them M.Zuiko lenses. And those are not, weather sealed. Most of them are not. And like this one is not. And the third reason might be that this has a more complicated autofocus motor system than this one. And what about the other specs? Here you can see the other specs of these two lenses. But let's get back to the size. That might be the first point to consider if you are planning on getting one of these 45mm lenses from M.Zuiko lineup, is that this one is very handy because of its size. And as you can see, it's a very good size for any Olympus OMD camera. It's a very good combo, the OMD body and one of these 45mm f1.8. It's a very nice combo to carry around. Both of these lenses are really good for portraits, still life, and, well, all around small telephoto lens. Whatever you might want to use a small telephoto lens, these are really great for that. And I have used this for portraits, for still life, and of course a general small telephoto lens. And here are some images. The first set of images are mostly portraits. And the second thing to consider is the aperture. This one was f1.2 and this one was f1.8. And that's usually the reason why someone would get one of these lenses, because of the fast aperture. And there are some advantages on that. And if we start talking about the f1.2, which is of course faster than the f1.8, and there are some advantages on that. And the first one is of course that you can get better images in low light because it has the faster aperture. You can get shorter shutter speeds, and you can have better AF quality in low light. And then of course the third one is depth of field, which I'm gonna talk a bit more later. So if you do a lot of image making in the dark or darker conditions, then this might be a bit better solution for you. But this is not a slow lens, so if you come from a kit lens, this is crazy fast compared to a kit lens. You will get a lot if you go from kit lens to this one. And then I was talking about the size and the AF motor on this one. This one is a lot faster if you use the AF compared to this. But if you get this for portraits, then I wouldn't consider that to be a big deal. Who cares how fast it is when you're doing portraits? Usually, if you do classical portraits, usually you could do that with manual focus. So I don't think it's a big deal to have fast autofocus when doing portraiture. But of course, if the portraiture is, let's say that it's a kid running around and it's a bit of a different kind, not that classical way, then this one might be better because of the faster aperture and better low light AF. But that depends on what you are making images of or what kind of portraits you are doing. But for classical, no difference in AF performance because it doesn't really matter. And then I already mentioned the shallow depth of field that both of these lenses can produce. And if you want a bit shallower than the f1.8 can offer you, then 1.2 lens is a better choice for that. And here you can see the difference. It's not big, but there is a difference. And remember, it's not always only about the amount of depth of field or the lack of it or whatever how you want to say it, but it's also the character of the depth of field. And on that sense, I think the f1.2 version, the Pro lens, is a lot better. All the Pro lenses from Olympus are really nice, wide open. They all produce a really nice bokeh. It's really pleasing into your eye. But of course, this is not a bad lens either, but this is better in that sense. And then we were talking about portraits. What about the fastest aperture when making portraits? Is there a big difference? As you saw, there is a difference in the depth of field, but you very seldom actually need to use the fastest aperture on your portraits. Usually when doing portraits, the model or the client or whatever it is, it usually is more happy if there is a bit of more depth of field than just shooting wide open, because if you use either of these lenses from a portrait photography distance, you will get your eye only to be sharp if you use it wide open. So you might want to stop down a bit to get a bit more depth of field so that the ear also has some sharpness. Usually people like that more than just the eye to be sharp and everything else is out of focus. Of course, if you do some more artistic portraits or your own project, then it's a different thing. But if you do portraits for others, then you might want to stop down a bit. So in that sense, the difference in the fastest aperture is not that big or meaningful. So for portraits, you probably won't need the f1.8 unless you are doing portraits in available light in dark conditions. Then this might be better. But if you do them in daylight, then it doesn't really matter. And then what about the look and feel of these two lenses? Well, the look of the lens is actually doesn't matter. I don't, who cares what the lens looks like? But what's more important is how it feels. And that's something that it's really hard to explain what a look and feel means when you talk about the feel side of it. It usually is that if I want to take this lens, I usually have a smaller body because it feels better in a smaller body. But if I do client work and need to take portraits, then I will use this one on the EM1X or the EM1 Mark II with the battery grip. And this one feels better. And of course, it's all these, if you use manual focusing, this feels better. It's got a better traction on that. And that's also where the Pro lens is a bit better than this one. I know talking about the feel might sound a bit weird, but it is something that it's, as I said, hard to explain. It's like one of my favorite, or my favorite OMD camera is the EM5 Mark II. Yes, a very old, I think it's 4 or 5 year old camera, but I still like to use it. And if I took that camera, I would put this smaller 45 on that. It is a really, really good camera to hold in your hand. And there is something about that I just like about it. And it's something that you cannot explain. That's the way it is. But remember, that's my personal feeling of the lens of the camera. You might have a different one, and it's equally correct than my opinion, because it's a personal thing. What feels good is good. But what about the image quality? Well, there is only one answer. The Pro version. That is better. And there are a few reasons. Of course, it's a Pro version lens. It should be better. It costs quite a lot more. We'll talk about the cost later. But this is also really sharp, wide open. And with this one, if you want to get the best result, you will have to stop down a notch, which in some cases, as we talked earlier in this video, doesn't really matter. But remember that this one is, in that sense, a lot better. But then when we come to the price of these lenses, this one you can get around 250. This one is 1200. Even though at the time when I was making this video, you could get this at $9.99 on Amazon, but the normal price is about 1200. So you can get actually 4 or 5 of these with one price of this. And if you're considering getting yourself a portrait lens, let's say that you have the kit lens on your OMD. It doesn't matter which OMD you have, but you have the kit lens, the 14 to 42 millimeter lens on that. And you want to get a faster portrait lens because you like to make portraits. And which one should you get? Of course, the price, remember the price, you can get 4 or 5 of these with the price of this. And that could be the thing that decides. And it's okay, because you never should break your bank getting new gear. That's what I've said many times. And remember, if you get this only with 250, you still have almost €1,000 or dollars left. What you could do with that? Get a couple of more lenses, maybe a 12 millimeter f2.0 lens, or maybe a 25 millimeter f1.8 lens, or something like that. Remember that always, that you necessarily do not need all the features that this lens comes with. Of course, if you're a professional, then it's a different thing, because we need to make images in all the bad conditions, and so we need weather sealing and all that stuff. And also we need very fast lenses so that we can work in dark conditions also. So it's always a matter of how much you use it and where you use it. But of course, if you have the money and that's not a problem for you, then by all means I would get this. No question about it. It's a better lens. But remember, if you are getting a new lens, get it for the right reasons. Get it for things that you really need. Usually a new lens or new camera is not a way to get your inspiration back. And you might want to watch these videos next. You might like them. They are also about M.Zuiko lenses. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.